Watch Dr. Drew's new show at 9 on HLN. Weeknights on HLN.
The National Coalition Against Domestic Violence says a quarter of all women, 25% of women, will experience some kind of domestic abuse. Think about that. You going to do something about this? A woman all too familiar with these horrifying odds is here. We're going to call her Jessica. She is in the shadow because she is still hiding from her abusive ex-partner. Also, I have Tulin Smiley. She is the executive director of the Women's Shelter of Long Beach. Kathy Westfield, she says she was involved in 2 abusive relationships. And Irma Sandoval is a domestic violence survivor. All right, Tulin, I'm going to start with you. This sounds just staggering. It's hard even to get my head around it. Maybe I should go to what does it look like from your vantage point, and what you see the lucky few, I imagine, the one that come to help.
Well, that's true. As somebody mentioned earlier, it's a woefully underreported crime. There's a lot of fear involved and a lot of perhaps cultural issues that might prevent somebody from coming forward and letting people know that they are being abused. So it is these numbers, as staggering as they are woefully underreported. Wow.
And Irma, can you tell us a little bit about your story? What happened?
Yes, I was 18 years old when I got into this relationship. I come from a family that I was very abused from my mother, and my mentality was if I find a guy that would treat me nice, I would be leaving my house, and that's what happened. I met this guy that I thought he was coming from the Army. I thought he had all his life complete, so I said, okay, he's going to take me away from my family. And
how bad did it get with him?
It was very bad. It was so abusive that at the time, I felt like I was mentally sick because of, he was very manipulative. So everything he would tell me, I would believe. I knew I needed some type of therapy.
So it's like a Stockholm syndrome, brainwashing.
Exactly.
Yeah. And you have kids with him, is that right?
Yes, I do.
Okay. How many kids?
I have 5 kids.
Okay, I want to read something, and this is not to sort of drill in and make things worse, but I need people at home to understand this. When it comes to children who witness domestic violence, which I imagine your kids did, okay?
Yes, they did.
Listen to this information that's provided by the National Coalition Against Domestic Violence. Witnessing, this is their quote, witnessing violence between one's parents or caretakers is the strongest risk factor of transmitting violent behavior from one generation to the next. Boys who witness domestic violence are twice as likely to abuse their own partners and children when they become adults. I cannot say this strong enough to my viewers. If you think it's okay to hit your kids or to hit one another, there's a cycle of abuse that kicks in here. And even if they're little children, I wouldn't say infants, but even under the age of 2, when kids witness domestic violence in partners, it impacts their brain. Jessica is still in the shadows because of how bad it got. How bad did it get for you?
Very bad. 18 years domestic violence. The last 13 years without 4 of my children because I was kidnapped from them. 9 fractures, multiple burns, teeth being pulled out by pliers. Very
slow
extreme.
down. Jessica, teeth being pulled out by pliers?
Yes.
It's just, it's too much to be believed.
Yes.
And how did you get stuck in it?
Well, I originally got stuck in it just similar to Irma in the sense that I came from an abusive home, and I reached out and latched on to the first person that was going to take me out of that. So I went from one victimization type of situation into another, who preyed on me, as a matter of fact. And I think that a lot of men like this, and I'm not just saying it's men, because there's females that also abuse men, but the mentality is that they look for a victim. I was asked very pointed questions to decide whether or not I fit the type of person that he wanted, and unfortunately I did.
Jessica, what do you say to people that look at this and hear this conversation and go, why didn't she just leave? That's silly that she didn't leave. How stupid, she didn't leave. What do you tell those people?
Survival. Survival is of the utmost importance, and everything else seems not to matter. You understand what I'm saying?
I do. Fear. You're saying fear and coercion. Is it, Kathy, you had the same experience, did you not, where they lock you in? Do you fear harm to yourself, harm to your children?
Of course. Harm to yourself, harm to your family members. They threaten you. They isolate you, so you do not have a support system.
And so you start to believe what they're telling you.
You start to believe everything they tell you.
Tulin, is this a common story?
Absolutely common. I think it occurs in every single case that we see at Women's Shelter of Long Beach.
Well, talk to me about the cycle of abuse. What can we do to break that? And when people hear the cycle of abuse, I think they kind of tune out a little bit. They don't really understand what that is.
Well, there are several cycles of abuse. One of them is the intergenerational cycle that you're talking about. Children learn what they see at home. And so without something to break that cycle, they're going to grow up and repeat that cycle. And they will be either, as you said, become an abuser or a victim as they grow up. The actual cycle of abuse we describe initially as somebody who is in the honeymoon period. They may be full of hearts and flowers. I love you. Everything's great. Tension starts to build in that relationship, and then something sets the batterer off, and the abuse occurs. After the abuse occurs, you go back to the honeymoon period where, oh my God, honey, I'm so sorry. You know I never meant to hurt you. I love you to death. This would never have happened if you hadn't done X.
Well, let's take a look at some of the warning signs of an abuser. Here they are. We're going to put them up on full screen, because if you see this, or you're starting to go down this path, you need to know it. Jealousy, controlling behavior, isolation, as we talked about, disrespectful or cruel to others, insensitivity to pain and suffering, blaming others for problems, a use of force, during sex particularly, rigid sex roles, past battering, of course, use of force during arguments, breaking or striking objects, and this Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde sort of phenomenon that I think Tulin is talking about. And by the way, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde for me is code for alcoholic addict, because when they're using, and substances must figure into this very prominently as well. Do they not?
Yes. Well, we say that substance abuse and drugs and alcohol are not the cause of domestic violence, but if they're present and there's a domestic violence relationship, it tends to escalate the violence.
Ladies, I want to ask you, sort of, for people at home who are trying to get their head around this, the way I try to explain it is that you see this violence and it becomes your sort of map, your love map, and you become attracted, as you said, Irma, to somebody that's going to be strong and take you away from the misery at home, a life preserver. But that life preserver ends up being the problem. Is there anything you can tell people at home to watch out for that? Kathy? Jessica's got something.
Yes. First and foremost, to women out there who may be listening to this and experiencing this and might have the opportunity to actually watch this without the perpetrator around, you need to know that more than likely you're being told that there is no help out there, that you will amount to nothing, no one will believe you, no one loves you, you're not a good mother, you're not a good person, and you account for nothing. And if you ever get out of his grasp, he will make sure that you're so disfigured that no one will ever want help or love you. So know that there is help. There's the Women's Long Beach of Shelter. There's the American Academy of Cosmetic Dentistry, who is going to be performing dental work for me so I can get back, start my life over, going to school right now. But women need to know, I was told that police and everyone else were evil.
And I think
and bred it into my mind.
And there's another side of the equation that usually is the earlier part of it, whereas when it just gets going, the cycle, as Tulin described it, the perpetrator goes, if I didn't love you so much, this wouldn't happen. It's because I love you so much that I can't stand seeing you like that. Irma shaking her head very strongly.
Yes, I went through that for so many years. And if I didn't love you, you think I couldn't get a better person that I work with lawyers and I could have gotten a paralegal or other women, and look at you and look who you are. You didn't even go to school. You haven't finished high school. You don't have this. So
this makes me so
they
sad.
minimize you so little that
Kathy,
you really believe it.
You seem like a very strong woman. How did it happen?
Well, you didn't pay attention to the red flags because they're there. I came from an abusive background. I should have recognized it when I first encountered it. My first relationship, I was 15 when I met him. The abuse started when I was 17 in college. It continued for another 5 years until I finally had it one night and I left the next day and didn't look back. However, I turned around and I ended up in less than a year in another abusive relationship because I didn't deal with the issues at hand that had to deal with me personally.
Yes.
That relationship I stayed in about 7 years. It was a marriage, and I finally left.
In a beat, can you tell us what those issues were that maybe could help other people struggling with the same thing?
Just not feeling good about yourself and knowing that you deserve better, and that no one has a right to put their hands on you. They will say it's your fault. It's not your fault.
Lynn, I want to thank you. I want to thank you, Kathy, Irma, Jessica. Thank you, ladies. It's very courageous of you to step forward like this. But I want to say, I've got to say this to my audience. If this has started, and Tulin back me up on this, it will not stop without treatment, without intervention. Without help, it will not stop. If this has started in your life, it's coming back. You've got to do something if this is happening. The other thing, as you've heard here, be careful with your attractions. If you come from an abusive family, you're going to be attracted to people, strongly attracted, lightning bolts, to people that are potential abusers. So learn to read your attractions. Go to people that are more butterflies, not lightning bolts, because the lightning bolts are the guys that are going to be the abusers.